Yo. Alright. What's up, guys? This is a different video about a research topic that I want to research. So basically, this was brought upon me from one of my good friends, and he has this problem. Well, I don't know if it's problem. I don't know if it's psychological, of whether his his um his thoughts, his way he processes relationships, where he thinks familiarity breeds contempt. So basically, what that means is the more you know somebody, the more you'll start thinking they're less of a less valued and like to be disrespected for, which doesn't make sense to me because I don't think I've ever done that to someone or treated someone less of or more of a piece of shit ever. So I'm gonna try to read some articles and see how that's real or not, how real it is, or if do we all as humans start like just I don't know when I think of disrespect, I feel like you just don't respect their boundaries, and I just don't quite believe that. I feel like I've always and not like try to figure it out with them, talk it out, shit like that. All right, so let's see. This one of the articles I pulled up. I already read this one. It's pretty good. Uh, Talks about you know is it actually familiarity that causes this disappointment? And they just talk about how love gets stronger, and if anything, it's the quite opposite when you start loving someone. But when you start being, I guess, lazy and like loving them and respecting them and stuff, that's when like the contempt comes in, because once you like want to love somebody at first, give them attention, 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 and then once it's kind of like the what's it called, the honeymoon period, kind of like dwindles. You start doing things less and less, and that, whether they see that as disrespect or some kind of boundary breaking, that's when the contempt starts. And it's not really whether you know them or not, it's just how much energy you're willing to put in. And if I had to put that back into my own life, it just seems like either I'm not putting the energy in or he's not putting the energy in. But honestly, I feel like I am. If anything, I'm putting more energy than I ever have before in this relationship that I have. So, you know what? I'm gonna bring this up just to be sure that hey, I read about it. Yes and no. This is true, but it's really about how much you're willing to put in. So, yeah, that's, that's pretty much what this is. Pretty much what I read about this. This is more talking about like intimate relationships and like you know yeah, not like friendships, but it happens in friendships too, obviously, and especially that could be even more with like roommate situations too. Questlove, yeah, the me first attitude. So it's just like they start thinking about themselves, and then it just becomes like them being a negative, and then it just becomes like a cyclical or a cycle of just accumulating. But if it's one sided, then it once they figure it out, it could be bad. And I'm figuring this shit out right now. So let's read this other article. Uh, Given how irritating other people sometimes are, it's surprising how many of us are eternally optimists about forming new relationships. Indeed, people seem primed to like others. The mere exposure effect is so robust social psychological finding demonstrating that just being exposed to someone causes us to like them more. Yes. I guess. That's my thoughts. A good example of a mere exposure effect is a study by Moreland and Beach, 1992. They're going to tell me about it. Who introduced 4 fake students to a large college course. Each of the fake students, chosen to be of similar appearance, attended the course to varying degrees. Some going to many classes, others to few, but none interacted with other students. Sure. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay. At the end of the course, the one student most people preferred, despite never have talked to her, was the one who had attended the more classes. Sure. If the mere exposure effect holds for developing social relationships, then, as we come to know more about others, we should come to like them more. It seems familiarity should breed liking. A recent study by Michael I. Norton from the Harvard Business School and colleagues certainly suggests that this is more people's intuitive understanding. Norton and colleges or colleagues? First, it's colleagues. First surveyed members of an online dating site. Okay. Asking them whether they generally preferred someone they knew little about or who they knew more about. 81% said they would prefer the person they knew more about. In a second survey of undergraduate students, fully 80% said they would prefer someone they knew more about. So much for people's expectations. Let's see how they really behave. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Familiarity breeds contempt. No. And then the next part of the study by Norton and colleagues, participants were given a list of traits about another person and asked how much they would like that person. In fact, the traits were generated to be broadly representative, and people were shown either 4, 6, 8, or 10 of these traits at random. The results showed that, contrary to their expectations, the more information people had about others, the less they liked them. Yay! Okay. Norton and colleagues hypothesized that the reason for this finding was that the more people found out about others, the more likely it is a trait will be uncovered to which they take a dislike. The researchers tested this with participants from the online dating site. This time, though, instead of using a pre-generated list of traits, each participant was asked to create a list of traits that describe themselves. These were then pulled. Predictably, most people chose relatively positive traits. These traits were then mixed up and randomly allocated in varying numbers and varying orders to participants as though they described a real person. Effectively, then, people were looking at random lists of relatively positive traits that the group itself had generated. Again, even with a list of mostly positive traits, people tended to like the person described by the shorter list of traits, further supporting the idea that we like people more who we know less about. God damn, this is fucked. Maybe these people are just shit assholes. How about that? Fuck. Alright. But what the researchers were interested in this time was the effect of similarity on whether we like others. This is because much previous research has shown that we tend to like other people who are similar to ourselves. The results showed that what was driving the connection between knowledge and dislike was a lack of similarity. Effectively, the more traits participants knew about another person, the more likely they were to find dissimilarities with themselves. As so, the more likely they were to dislike them. Okay. It gets worse. In the fourth study, using a similar approach to those. Oh, sorry. I got correct. It gets worse. And the fourth study, using a similar approach to those above, two researchers found that our dislike for others cascades. This means that if we see a dissimilar and therefore unlikable trait earlier in the relationship with another, this tends to negatively affect the way we perceive the rest of their traits. So once we receive a dissimilarity, it's all downhill from there. We even traits as we have liked or been neutral about before now get the thumbs down. For foremost, familiarity breed contempt. Finally, in the fifth study, researchers decided to test the evidence from their controller studies in their real world. This time, members of a dating site were asked either about a potential partner they had met online or someone they were about to meet. After getting participants to complete a survey, they found that, as expected, people knew more about their dates after having met them before for the vast majority of people, though liking for their dates decreased substantially after they had met them. On average, knowledge of their date increased from 5 out of 10 pre-date to 6 out of 10 post-date, while liking dropped from 7 out of 10 to 5 out of 10, and what the fuck? Okay. And perceived similarity dropped from 6 out of 10 to 5 out of 10. Of course, this wasn't true for everyone. Some met other people who they liked more afterwards, but for the majority, more knowledge led to apparently dissimilarity, which led to less liking. Hope springs eternal. Considering the result of this study it's a wonder we bother trying to make friends after this first few disappointments. The fact that we do is probably a result of an unrealistic level of optimism about how much we will expect to like others. This is confirmed that by the study's finding that the vast majority of people expect that more knowledge and about others will lead to liking when in fact familiarity breeds contempt. And occasionally we do actually meet people who turn out to be similar to us who end up as close friends or even partners. It's these relationships hits that we tend to remember when meeting someone new rather than all the times we were disappointed. As this study shows, on the vast majority of occasions, that less we know about someone, the more we are inclined to like them, because familiarity breeds contempt. It's like the fake student in Moreland and Beach studies. Ambiguity allows us to imagine that other people share our worldview, our personality traits, or our sense of humor. Unfortunately, as soon as we start to find out more about them, we're likely to find out how different they are to ourselves, as a result to dislike them. Hell is other people. Jean-Paul Sartre. Uh, Jean-Paul was right. On average, other people really are hell. That is, most other people are hell. There are, of course, a few people we each hold dear. People who do not begin to smell after 3 days. But these people are glorious exceptions, so hold on to them. Damn, what a fucking terrible. There's gotta be more. Okay, does familiarity breed contempt? Alright. Well, so far, it looks like still yes. God, this just. Well, this is an eye opener. I'm definitely upset. No shot. How do you explain, how do you explain Oh shit, wrong one. Sorry, still working on this. Yeah. So like how does someone explain like streamers, like the more they tell about themselves, the more people like them? Is it just because they can relate more? Like Charlie's always showing some kind of like, you know, he always has his story time, and people love him for that shit. Is it just like relatable? Is that not information that's considered like a trait of them? Like he used to be cringe and now he's not. I don't know. It's just that right there is just what I still don't understand. And hopefully I can get in the bottom of this when we start reading more. All right, paywall, no wall. Jesus, Google Scholar is dog shit. Okay, I'll just read the abstract. Disciplinary content analysis of the relationship among company familiarity, company reputation, company citizenship, and company personality on corporate equity. Okay, well, don't really give a fuck about that. Okay, the paper sets out. Paper sets out the question whether students learn better from an exercise in which they repeat the original sentence they got wrong, or instead presented with different parallel sentences. A parallel sentence. The author found that some students preferred to redo the same sentence while others preferred a different one. The nature of this difference and the reason for it are examined. One main difference seems to be in the student metacognitive skills. If this is the case, computer programs could be developed that improve students' metacognitive skills while catering to different learning preferences. Okay, familiarity does not breed contempt. Generosity, discrimination, diversity, and okay. I explain natural experimental in Indian schools to study how being integrated with poor students affects the social behaviors and academic outcomes of. Fuck it. Yeah. Hmm. All right. In conclusion, here's my conclusion. My conclusion. Does familiarity breed? I don't know how to put this. Technically, yes. But really, it depends on the kind of person you are. If you are a piece of shit, and you treat people with no respect, you deserve nothing of value But so if you can be consistent, how do you spell consistent? If you can be consistent with your values and not be a dick to people that you have now who you have bred contempt, then you are a good person. The person you are, if you're a piece of shit and you treat people with no respect, you deserve nothing of value. So if you can be consistent with your values and not be a dick to people that you have bred, you have. In last conclusion, and final note, don't be a piece of shit like me, or speak up about problems. There you go. That's the conclusion. All right. Well, there you have it. Uh, I'll upload this probably today, and that's it. See ya.